enhanced visibility in the supply chain world. Well, joining us today to speak about that, Jerome Roberts, Global Vice President of Marketing at Blume Global. Jerome, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Russell.
Jerome, let's talk about visibility. It's clearly growing ever more important all the time in the world of supply chain, which itself is becoming ever more complicated. But my question to you is this: the state of visibility today, how would you characterize that? What would you say?
Well, visibility is extremely important. So clearly there's a lot of people trying to chase and solve that problem for the companies. And, you know, the events of the last several years have taught several different lessons, and we're still learning lessons. And one of them is you cannot control what you cannot see. So visibility is just the beginning, though, because it was never the end goal. You have to see in order to act, and to act in order to make an impact. So visibility has to be connected with execution, because that's ultimately the goal, is to get the performance where you need it to be, right? So there's a crowded field, but do we really have what we need to get to the action is really the question that we have to ask, Russell.
Well, I want to get to that answer in just a moment, but I want to ask you this first. The challenges that we've experienced in the last couple of years, I mean, clearly there's been this pandemic, and clearly there's now a situation in Ukraine, as between Ukraine and Russia, that's impacting much of the world, certainly a lot of the foodstuffs in the world. There are any number of there's a laundry list of challenges that the supply chain has to deal with. Do you see these things continuing to bedevil the supply chain, thereby making visibility continually and ever more important? What's your view?
Well, I mean, clearly what has happened is we've gone from a state of somewhat predictable environments to completely unpredictable environments. Hence, increased focus on the visibility piece. Mm-hmm. Because you now cannot, the funny thing is, I've done forecasting, right, in the past, mm-hmm. which allows you to plan, right? But the key in forecasting is consistency. Without consistency, then you need to have your eyes open and be able to react immediately, mm-hmm. right? Because you're not able to work on the plan anymore. Your plan basically is day to day, second to second, reacting to what you see. So the visibility now is increased because the forecasting no longer is reliable, right? So if I don't know exactly what's happening with my ocean shipment, the carrier tells me it's going to be 20 days on the ocean, and I start planning for 20 days, and I don't actually see that predicted arrival time is actually going to be 25, then I'm not prepared to take the action required when it gets to the port to make sure that my customer is satisfied and the merchandise gets to where it needs to be. So visibility right there makes the difference. Visibility is not just knowing the estimated date, but it's knowing the predicted date based on an algorithmic approach of historical performance, which makes all the difference in the world.
And it would seem that it would also give you the resiliency to make the change necessary to now deal with this later arrival.
That's right. So think about it this way, right? I've got a 20-day heads up on a 5-day differential, whereas I had to wait 20 days to figure out it was going to be 5 days late. That's a huge difference when you talk about planning for that drayage piece, notifying the customer of the delay, the difference between making a future sale or not making the sale, one piece of information 20 days early.
You know, I got to say, Jerome, this is fascinating because we're talking now about in-transit visibility. Where is my stuff right now? Because I need to know when my stuff is going to be at the port or whatever it is. But visibility can be much larger than just the transportation piece. So let's talk about that as it pertains to the world of supply chain. What do you say?
Well, supply chain is like a big network, right? There's many moving parts. There's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of, you can call them nodes, right? If you take a piece of paper and you draw some dots and you draw lines between those dots, you just created a network. Well, not only do you need information about the distance of those lines, but you also need information about the dots. In this case, we can call them supply chain nodes. Those are things like ports, ocean ports, rail ramps, anywhere where your merchandise needs to stop or the shipment needs to stop and transition to the next journey in that, or next leg in that journey. Well, what if everything's rolling on time, but there's congestion at the port that causes additional week delay? If you don't know that, that's another opportunity for failure, right? Another opportunity for customers to be dissatisfied, another opportunity for lost revenue, another opportunity for higher costs, because now I got to pay all kinds of accessorials for that to be stored because I can't get it picked up. So the nodes, as well as the legs of transportation, have to be included when you have the visibility.
You know, these multiple opportunities for failure is quite interesting because that's going to be faced or can be faced by any company regardless of size. But let's talk about size, small company versus large companies, and how important visibility is to each and every one of those.
Yeah,
what would you say?
absolutely.
Walk us through that.
So, visibility is a great equalizer, right? If you're a mom and pop shop and you have the advantage of the information, you're at the same benefit as the large organization. They just probably move more stuff. But the level of information you need is still important. What I will tell you is size impacts visibility when you think about the transportation providers moving the goods. Visibility requires digital information. Let me give you the example of the small mom and pop trucking company. A couple trucks, very good rates to pick up my ocean movement out of the port. We use them, but how do I get the information about when they picked it up? How do I get the information about where that truck is? How do I know that delivery was made without that mom and pop being digitized? Well, you need to empower that small transportation provider to participate in the digital map of the supply chain world to get that information at the right time so you can react to it in the right way.
Quite frankly, they're not as competitive without being networked in the manner that you speak. Let's turn to Blume Global itself. For any viewer that's unfamiliar with the company, what do you do and what can you do for the viewer?
Well, thanks for that question. And what I can tell you is we're so excited about what we've built at Blume Global. We're really a digital platform that is seeking to get the customer and enable them to be, not only have the visibility, but take action to satisfy their customers and collaborate with everyone that participates in their supply chain. Basically providing a digital supply chain map, a digital twin, if you will, to allow them to go beyond visibility and go to action to actually have an agile and resilient supply chain, all the way up from suppliers, all the way down to the final delivery.
Great look-see, as it were, into visibility today. Jerome, you're busy here, but you found time to speak with us. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Russell. Thank you so much.
Jerome Roberts, Blume Global, speaking with us today about enhanced visibility, perhaps in your supply chain. Thanks for watching.